Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is the Ethics of Victoria 2, number 8A, as the Confederacy of just sort of, what's the word? Pragmatism. There we go. The Confederacy of Pragmatism, you'll see we have cut the United States into several groups with basically just weird little river ocean connections between them, and nothing else, and yeah, doing some harm to those guys. We are the third ranked power in the world, second in prestige, fourth in industry, first in military. The Germans are number 1. They are currently beating up the Belgians quite severely. The British are not helping them, they're just kind of chilling. The Dutch, oh wait, that's the thing, they're attacking the Dutch. The Belgians are down here being attacked by the Dutch. So the Dutch attacked Belgium, is calling us to war. The Germans came to defend Belgium, and we're not going to answer that call. Meanwhile, Russia, proving itself to be an amazingly stable autocracy, is currently facing massive rebellions, basically just throughout the entirety of their country, although it doesn't really seem to be affecting them in too much of a negative way. So yeah, with that all said, we're going to just keep gunning forward. We're going to try to steal some more states. Looks like the Netherlands gave up, which really they should have. And let's see. So our goal, if we'll just go through all this really quickly. No war justifications, that's what I was looking for. July 23rd of 1915 is when we will be able to go after the United States once more, and of course that is immediately when we're going to do it. Until then though, we're going to just keep researching commerce, since it looks like we've caught up in industry and culture, as well as army. So commerce next, then navy. Our navy is slightly more, I guess, numerous and advanced than we have the capability to support at the moment, but we are still building naval bases. And, yeah, other than that, we're doing very well. So, another quick thing, sorry that I haven't really been too frequent with these videos recently. I would love to say I had a good reason for it. Quite frankly, it's because of Warhammer Total War 2. I've been playing a game as the Skaven, which is kind of interesting, but also just terribly, okay, it's not a terrible game, but what it is my computer isn't really that great. I mean, it's pretty decent, I like my computer well, but it's something like 5 years old, and it was kind of a budget computer. So I play Total War Warhammer 2, and the loading screens are probably most of what I'm doing in that game. So I'm usually listening to a podcast or something, or watching a YouTube video while playing that game, and it's just absorbed so much of my time. I really should upgrade if I'm going to actually keep playing that, because I don't know, I'm taking a break from it now because it was just so outrageously tedious to have just various events occur in that game. And then it's just like, oh cool, that sets me back 5 turns. How long is 5 turns? Probably enough time to rewatch Donnie Darko. You know, just as an example. That isn't actually something I ended up doing because it's on Netflix. But now, you know, I go on tangents a lot on this, but I feel like I'm getting, you know, beyond myself at the moment. At any rate, let's see. I think we just needed 1 infantry for that. Oh, and we were already building it. And I just didn't pay that much attention. Alright, and look at that, the game's the 5th Olympiad, we were hosting those. So there we go. But yeah, Warhammer Total War 2 is pretty interesting. I might make a video in it. It would have to be very heavily edited though, because I would just chop out all of the loading screens and all of that, and all of the just time. Yeah, really all the loading screens is the main thing. I mean, I'm sure it's a very quick game for what it is, but it is not a quick game. Anyway, the Skaven is fun. I have a little short video where I was just attacking stuff with late game tech. I'll upload it just because. Other than that, though, we're going to hop back into this, as you know, you can see by the fact that there's a video out for this. That's such a dumb statement. At any rate, we are really just killing time before we can attack the United States again. At this point, it's really clear, I think, how the various confederacies are going to succeed. It's just really a matter of to what extent. Now, the Confederacy of Good, as you guys may have seen, was annexed in the last video. However, I have a theory that I'll be able to bounce back as them. So what we're going to do is give that a try. As, you know, why shouldn't we? So we're going to give it a try. We're going to see if we're able to bounce back. We're just going to load up in the last save when the war was declared against us. We'll just load up in that save and just really try as hard as I can to make it work. And I think we'll be able to pull something off. Although, you know, I did think that we'd be able to pull that last one off. I do think it's possible. It'll be difficult, that's for sure. But I guess you could argue that the path of good is not the path of least resistance. Because really, how good could something be if it was easy? Let's see. Wow, we have a ton of people unemployed in Pennsylvania. Way to mess up, Pennsylvania. So what's going on there? We can't really do anything about it, so there's no real great point to check. They just don't have very many factories, and one of them is closed. Alright, well, we're already not spending much in social spending, so I assume we managed to take care of that earlier. So we'll just keep doing that. We are getting a good amount of money from China, because we did roll on over and make them pay for their crimes and got reparations. So that's pretty cool. Other than that, what other objectives do we have? That's a good question. One is, I would very much like to kick the British out of Canada. Now to do that, Canada will either have to be a great power, which they actually look fairly close to achieving on their own, or the UK will have to not be a great power. They have 780, we'll say, just to be safe, prestige score, because they will get more as time goes on. Almost for sure. Almost certainly. So let's grab some text and then take a look. Alright, so the highest score ranking countries. The next one up actually would be Austria-Hungary. Oh, and Canada. So that's pretty cool. If we were to occupy the entirety of the United Kingdom, it would knock them out of great power status. That's really a lot to do, though, so I'm not actually going to do that. Realistically, I think that they might just become a great power on their own. Oh, the Ionian Islands exist. That's interesting. Usually they're kind of just sold to the Greeks, but I guess they had a rebellion. Which makes sense, I suppose, if you could either have a rebellion or just lose your country. One is better than the other. Alright, so Bulgaria's doing fine-ish. Russia's really having a bad day. But they are still a great power. So hopefully them and the Austrians just kind of collapse a little bit. We really don't need this much money, which is a weird statement. But we will go ahead and just drop off our poor taxes quite a bit. Go ahead and go to that 6th Olympiad. And not worry about the economy. So the United States is also a weird example because, you know, we can't really mess with the economy too much. I say the United States. But really, any of the great North American republics... Okay, that's just overly vague. So the CSA and the USA both have, you know, basically laissez-faire economics almost all the time, almost no matter what. I'm sure if we didn't pass social reforms and just kind of made a big fight of it, we would have gotten a lot more, you know, events and things that would have pressed us towards socialism, as more of the people would have wanted it and then pressed for it and agitated and all that, and we would have had more rebellions. As, you know, is just how it goes. But we didn't, so we didn't, and that's honestly perfectly fine by me, since the real test of this, I suppose... Oh, and we can actually be attacking the United States right now. Alright, so we're going to go after Illinois, and Illinois is a bit of a weird target, but I actually went in and just calculated out how many people were in each of their states, Illinois is the most populous so far. So let's see, can we not actually? Oh no, July 23rd. Cool, I caught it in time. Alright, but I believe what it went was Illinois is the most populous, then Massachusetts, then Indiana, and not Wisconsin or anything. That is probably later. However, we'll just go ahead and acquire one of their states. And, you know, we should actually maybe wait a little bit, since it's possible for us to go over the infamy limit. I'm just gonna risk it, because at this point, you know, why not? It wouldn't even be all that terrible if it did happen, but I don't think it will. Although, we were actually cutting it a little close. Okay, so our options for the rest of this campaign, since we really have 20 years left, if we just follow this, what we'll end up doing is fighting the United States probably 4 more times, I suppose, because we'll go attack them for once more, twice more. Let's take a look at this crisis. Nobody's backing anybody. We'll decline the Ottomans. Ah, the Germans are backing the Ottomans. That's annoying. See, I don't want to fight against the Germans, especially because we don't really have anything going on near them. Oh, and there we go. France is backing the Greeks, the American menace. Oh, you know, if the United States joins it, and they won't... one of the things I was thinking of... That's weird. Honduras, the American-Mexican War against Mexico. What are they after, I wonder? Are they going to try to take over Durango? Oh, that's... Okay, no, they're just cutting them down to size. I was gonna say, that would be absolutely disgusting. Alright, Thessalia, and Alsace-Lorraine. Looks like Germany's got a lot of support. The Russians and the French are not going to win that. Especially Germany, the Ottomans, Italy, Britain. Unless Britain recently lost a world war, and it's honestly been a little while, so I'm not entirely sure which side... Oh, what is this? Oh, interesting. Well, we don't really have to worry about Canada being ranked 10 for very much longer. It looks like they're going to be ranked 9 as soon as the Austrians just collapse. Oh yeah, and the Russians are in a state of perpetual collapse, so they're not going to be any help to the French. So it's basically France against the rest of the world. So that's not at all going to be a fight that they can win. Let's see. We'll just go give them 12-hour workdays since it's the most popular reform, and at this point I don't really care too much about passing more. We'll look at migrations. Wow, tons of people are flooding into the United States of America. That is pretty crazy. In fact, we're not getting very many immigrants at all, really, compared to everybody else. Well, that's one more reason I guess we should go kick the United States a little bit. Probably build another army, and it looks like we definitely can. We'll build most of an army in Africa real quick. Doing that thing we do where we don't quite build it all the way, and we'll get another infantry at some point. Alright, and there we go. New army in our homeland as well. And I doubt the Americans really have very much in the way of a military at this point. Yep, alright, and look at that, Slovakia has been... Oh, that is just disgusting. Although it is kind of cool. If they manage to lose this portion, I guess to Romania and maybe some weird, awful rump of a Poland, then they would have this little tiny Austro-Hungaria. And that'd be kind of fun. I don't think they'll actually do it, though, but they might. Alright, so now all that needs to happen is for this, Oh, the crisis is done. I guess they just realized that that was really suicidal. That's slightly a bummer. It would have been cool to see Canada become a great power, and then we would have probably fought them. Oh well. At any rate, let's get our army onto the border because we're about to be at war. And that's a pretty good place for it, given the circumstance. Alright, we can go to war, acquire some states. We will just move our army up into half of Texas and Oklahoma. So, sorry to all of our people in those various parts of the country, but it really isn't cost effective to defend you. And we are going to go after Illinois as part of our long-term goal of just keeping the US, well, not really keeping them down, but propping ourselves up in the most efficient manner possible. And the best way to do that is to take their best state at a time. And at this point, that would just happen to be Illinois. You know, I'm an American, believe it or not, guys. And I've never really once thought of Illinois as being all that. Okay, sorry if you live there. I guess Chicago is in Illinois, which, honestly, I've never thought about. I mean, I guess, you know, how often does the thought, where is Chicago, pop through someone's mind? I guess Obama was from Chicago. And I hear that they're corrupt there. Not necessarily referencing Obama, but I heard his Senate seat was very infamously sold off, or something like that. Oh, and that army's just getting absolutely thrashed, so let's get out of there. Going to have to rebuild that somewhat. Really goes ahead and shows you how the offensive is still not a great place to find yourself in Victoria 2, even in this part, this late in the game. We will just chase that army down, though. Hopefully they will be weak enough that it doesn't matter that we're attacking them, much like that battle just there. Alright, and it won't take us very much war score to achieve victory in this. Alright, and there we go. With them very unorganized, disorganized, whatever. Nope, alright, we'll just... Oh, dang, they're just pouring through. And we don't have enough troops to man an effective frontier. Alright, so that'll just happen. We'll go take over Illinois, though, and just kind of not worry about it for the moment. The big issue is we don't want our factory states to shut down, or to be occupied so their factories shut down. And we're only at 1% war score, probably at least in large part because of that battle that went just absolutely pear-shaped. We will go send these forces up, defend our armies as best we can. Plus 3 defense will leave that army there despite the fairly decent reasons not to. Alright, we did win the Battle of Indianapolis, or wait a minute, Topeka. I don't know where I got Indianapolis from. Oh, from over here, where we did, I assume, win an occupation. That would explain that. Alright, pretty soon their capital will fall, and that will be a good boon for our war score. And it looks like that army that seeped through just went to go bludgeon into one of our forces. So it looks like we're going back up to Indianapolis. Oh, darn, they managed to escape right there. Alright, and we will just roll through, get rid of that one small stack. I am tempted to chase those guys down, although they are in a good defensive position, what with the woods. We'll see how that plays out, though. I am just going to go for it. Alright, so we'll hope for the best. Oh, God, no, we won't actually do that. We have to defend our people right there. Alright, that should be a good addition to our numbers. What was happening? Okay, both sides have gas attack, but that's usually not enough to turn it so lopsided. Were we just bad? What's going on? Alright, we need to get this army out of there without it dying. You know, we're actually kind of losing that battle. I hope this isn't just going to always be what happens in these wars, where I just kind of keep assuming that the United States should be, at this point, out, and then they're not. And look at that. What is this 66 stack just roving through our countryside? Oh, killing... Of course. What is this? Killing our engineer. Oh wait, a hussar. Wait, is it? No, it is an engineer. Guess we'll build a new one. Alright, so that army will go reinforce because that battle's turning really awful. Looks like we lost a battle of Nashville. That was that one. We'll keep this army in the mountains. This army will come and do that as well. They'll get there on the 15th, they'll get there on the 17th. Alright. Wow, we are really not winning that battle. And they're just bringing more and more reinforcements in, which, you know, admittedly so are we. Still, though, when we were attacked in a place that did not look like it was favoring us at all, and it's, of course, right there. Alright, we'll bring more forces. Hopefully we can get our troops there before they all die. Oof. Or we might just want to cut our losses. They'll get there on the 31st. We'll get them there on the 2nd. These troops will in part go reinforce right there. These guys will just kind of run south. Oh, God, it looks like they managed to beat us into the mountains. Let's slow this down. We're going too fast. We're not really allowing events to unfold in the way that they should. Alright, we got there on the 2nd. That army was apparently just completely obliterated. They'll get there on the 4th. We'll get there on the 6th. Oh, but that works. Because they'll attack. Oh, they're going in the opposite direction. Alright, that's good. We can counter them wherever they end up. Go reinforce our dudes. This guy will go back and join that army. Alright, so these forces are doing okay. We lost a ton of guys right there, which is awful. We'll chase these Americans over to Denver. We are winning the war, technically, although it really doesn't feel like a just outright victory. We still do not have Washington, D.C., though, but we will have it soon once we win this battle. They'll probably reinforce with that 30-something stack. That's completely fine. Chase them down. We did win that small battle. Oh, and they're just absolutely hemorrhaging forces. That's what they get. They want to make peace with us. I want to see these armies destroyed. It's clearly not favoring us to leave these American armies alive at the end of these wars. In fact, I'm honestly a little tempted to just bite the bullet on this one and just occupy them enough that they fall into a state of perpetual civil war. As that might just be simply the best thing we could do. And that wouldn't even take very long, honestly. But we are losing a battle. And they are giving up. So once this battle ends right there, and probably that one over there as well, then we will make peace with them. We will retreat those forces. They will give us Illinois, and we really can't stay too long to get anything else since we have the issue of we don't really have the infamy limit to do that. Arguably, we could bypass infamy and just kind of go for broke. Although I do think it's a little too early for that. And also, I'm not sure if that's really advisable, just with the current state of affairs. Given the fact that we have Africa, or at least a decent portion of it, if we did do something like that, we would have to be fighting constantly in Africa. So maybe that'll be something in the last final years. Other than that, we might be able to fight only 3 wars against the United States after this. Because, okay, 21, 26, 31. That's it. Those are the years. So we can get 3 more. So that's 1 state, 2 state, 3 states. So we really want at least 5, maybe 6, maybe 7, maybe 8 or 9. So we'll just peace out now. Yeah, they managed to reinforce, and that's kind of a pain. Alright, we do have Illinois. Borders are progressively getting just more disgusting. But that's okay. We will definitely need to kick them out of one area so we can get a coherent front line. We haven't managed to do that yet in this series, and that is proving problematic because I do base most of my war fighting typically off of having a coherent front, and as long as we just aren't in that position, there's not really all that much that we can do. Let's see. Pull back all of the undermanned and just terribly damaged groups, and they should be able to form new groups out of the remnants. Alright, and I suppose that wasn't really such a terrible war. It'll be interesting, though, to see how many people died in all of our wars in the end of this. Oh, cool, Manchuria is free from the Russians, of all people. French-Dutch War, that's interesting. What's that about? Cut them down to size. Okay. And the Russians are fighting on the opposite side. Weird. Russian communists trying to do their thing. Don't really seem to be succeeding yet. And Canada still is not really catching up with Russia, even though Russia is not really managing to do very much as a state. Russian communists are all roving around the place, but they are probably about to mobilize. They have mobilized, so that'll actually probably help them deal with their rebels without having to, you know, condescend to the point of actually making life better for their people. What's this? Jacobin rebels in Mexico. It looks like they're a presidential dictatorship. Don't quite remember that happening. I wonder if I could get military access from them, or if they'll be all salty about the fact that we have a significant number of their cores. Guess that remains to be seen. Let's see. We will go ahead and get rid of all of our most undermanned groups. Looks like we don't actually have the ability to get rid of them entirely, but that's okay. What's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Go split these dudes up. And we should be getting an additional force. Just an engineer, but oh, that's right. It died earlier, and now we're building the new one. So that should come in fairly soon. We'll just group these troops up. Doesn't really matter, I guess. Well. Alright. And let's see. Okay, I wouldn't have imagined that we would have ended up with extra infantry after all that. I guess we lost an entire army. Oh, and here's the thing. Oh, that's actually the engineer right there. Let's get out of the way and move this army. Now we just need 2 infantry, 1 dragoon, 2 infantry, 1 dragoon, probably 3 artillery, and that's it. Meanwhile, the French war against the Dutch isn't actually going anywhere because it looks like they don't have military access, which is kind of funny, honestly. Also, you'll notice our people are becoming progressively more fascist. The interesting thing with that is I believe it's because all of the American states that we're taking over are going to be progressively more fascist as we take more of their country, which is very fun because we're going to have a country filled with ardent fascists who don't really, they're not the primary culture of our state. It's essentially as though if Nazi Germany, for lack of a better example, rolled into France piecemeal, and the further into France they got, the more the French people they were taking over were also Nazis, because they just hated the fact that they were losing to the Nazis. Not saying that we are essentially Nazis in this, but I mean, it's just weird. You wouldn't become fascist as you're being subjected. I mean, the Quislings did. And that's the whole thing with the Quislings is, you know, everybody hated them because they were French Nazis. And it didn't make much sense at the time. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of cool though. I mean, it's interesting stuff. Keeps the game, I guess, going in a weird sort of direction. It might make us have to fight a big fascist rebellion near the end, which would be kind of interesting in and of itself. Looks like our amount of unemployed people is dropping pretty well. That's good. We are still just the 4th ranked in industry in the world. And let's see, let's check out these population densities. So it looks like Boston is now the biggest state in the United States. Or city in the United States. New York is just tremendous, which isn't all that great. It really just puts to shame all of our Confederate, you know, centers of industry. But what are you gonna do? Northeast is gonna northeast. Looking at it nationality-wise, we are still making a lot of people Confederate. It looks like a lot of these other areas are just kind of doing their own thing. Manchuria, of course, fell into the orbit of China, as it would. And America is the 7th great power in the world. Let's see, Canada still nowhere close, and the Russians are getting their act together, which is just problematic. The fact that they're fighting the French, but the French can't actually get their armies over, is probably the best possible thing for the Russians. Since it gives them an opportunity to go and defeat all of their rebels, which as you can see they're doing with just massive piles of mobilized peasantry. So they're just running the peasantry out into the countryside. And who knows, maybe they'll go to war with China, although I severely doubt it, since they have the 11th ranked military, and China has the 2nd, and apparently we are at the 3rd, which means the UK is probably 1st, and so they are. So we might be at a hard limit of what we're able to achieve. We might just be the 3rd great power in the world. One option would be to cut the UK down to size. That could hurt them a bit. We could also do the same to Germany, but then we're running the risk of getting more like the other Confederacy and not really following our own advice of just trying to become the best state we can. Oh, well, it looks like Mexico's dealing with a revolution attempt on their own. We have a World's Fair. Get ourselves some aeronautics, and that's definitely a tech worth investing in. Really, any military tech is, but it's one worth jumping out of your way for. Whoa, did I just mobilize? Thank God an event popped up instead. And we still can't really build a full army, but we do need one more infantry in Africa, which I almost forgot about. And let's see, we will go ahead and just build up most of an army. Whoop. Glory to the youth of our nation. Oh, cool. Italy and Austria-Hungary are fighting again. Is Italy a great power? I can only assume that they are, but we'll double check. Italy is the 5th great power in the world. And of course we're not going to answer any of these calls to arms. Alright, 48 Austrian brigades, 49 now. Up against 149 Italians. Seems to be heavily favoring the Italians. Believe it or not. Oh, maybe they'll manage to reinforce their armies, maybe not. See, this is just the reason it's so good to just set up a solid wall against the AI, because they'll just funnel into it, and as long as you don't let them encircle you, then you just win. So, okay, so my plan for the good campaign is basically, we're going to build up so many troops in each particular province that we're going to try to defend, that the United States will just not risk attacking us. And if we can pull that off, then we can, you know, have a defense. That's really it. We'll have a defense that they can't break, just through sheer numbers. And I get that idea, and I'll reiterate this in that because it's an important thing. But there is a zombie mod for this game, for Victoria 2, which is kind of amazing, honestly. It's really fun, great mod. If I feel like it at the end of this, you know what, I just might make a mini campaign where we do that, and we just play the zombie mod. It's tremendous fun. Absolutely ridiculous, but tremendous fun to just try to survive it. And essentially, my thought is, the AI for that zombie mod is just the regular Victoria 2 AI, and the way that you win in the zombie mod is essentially you make a little perimeter. We'll just pretend this is an Italian perimeter and not just them pushing forward, and you just hold out there. The AI will eventually just not attack you if you have enough of an army, and their force is weak enough relative to yours. So my thought is, if we just pile our troops up into massive stacks against the United States, then they won't attack any particular one of our stacks, and we can sit them out. We'll sit and wait it out. The other thing, though, was that the UK lost their battle against France, and the French went and invaded. So what we'll do is we'll send our navy on basically just some death ride. We'll send them over and block the channel. The British might still send their armies out to die in France. That's basically guaranteed. However, as long as the French can't cross into England, the British really don't have any reason to care. I mean, you know, obviously it'll lower the war score, and they'll eventually give up if they don't think they can win. I think, though, that the United States is the war leader, even when it turned into a great war. And what that means is, if we can just hold out long enough, what we'll eventually be able to do is pull some forces out of the mountain passes and get them to attack the mountain passes, and then just keep reinforcing and shuffling our armies. And if we do that efficiently enough, we can kill the entire American army in these 3 mountain provinces, holding out around them slightly. We'll kill off their entire army, encircle them at the very last moment so they can't escape, and then we'll go and occupy the entire United States up until the point that they're willing to give up. Now, you could say that that breaks slightly away from the idea of being super moralistic, to which I'll say, yeah, it's a really messed up plan. You know, there's no denying that. It's basically, the plan is we'll let 1.5 million people die in the mountains, not counting our own people who will die in the mountains, with the express purpose of killing those other people. Not really super moral, that. But, you know, that ties back to the whole thing that we've decided that a defensive war is justifiable morally. With, you know, the alternative being that you just kind of, oh, hey, put down Boxer Rebellion again. Are we gonna do it? Should we? It was money. We are hemorrhaging money because we stopped getting all that Boxer money. Then we'll start giving our people social subsidies again, since they probably need it. We do have to tax the middle class for that, though. Alright, so, we could go attack China again. They are rank 9, and God only knows I want Canada to be... Wait a minute. Oh yeah, they have more points than Canada. How many military techs do they have? 13 out of 30. So we can, of course, just absolutely dominate them if we do go and fight. The question is, do we want to? Yeah, kinda, honestly. It seems kind of, it wouldn't be that bad to do. Did we ever build more transports up? I know I meant to. No, these are just 2 combat fleets. We have the 4 groups of transports, 5th group of transports. That's not really a 6th group of transports. Do we have another navy somewhere that's just hogging 3 extra transports for no reason? Or I think what it was they lost some. It has been a little while. Well, we'll build 3 more transport ships. We'll build a whole 10 in Africa. And we'll build 3 over here. Alright. And those are switching places. That's good. We need an extra infantry. Are we building that anywhere? What's the deal? Did it die? How would it have died? Did I just not build it? Probably that one. Oh, right, because we didn't have enough. That's right. Alright, well, we can build a whole new army, so we will do that as well. And then we'll go bludgeon into China. And that should work pretty well. Alright, there we go. So that'll get our army up to full strength. That also explains why all of our armies were just stacked in big piles along the coast, was because we had obviously went and sent them out to China. Right. Remember that now. Did we ever send any of them back from... Right, some of them were stuck in China, so we sent them to Africa. Right, okay, so, moving on from that, we will go pile all these forces up. It looks like, no, I guess the state of the world's the same right now. Italy's just hurtling into Austria-Hungary. Not much can be done about that. Not much really needs to be done about that, probably. Load these dudes up. And, you know, I'm honestly kind of tempted to just see if we can make do with the amount of forces we'll have. Since we'll have a solid, what, 5 groups? Yeah, that's a good 150,000 men. We might be able to pull it off. Let's see, we'll just set this as control group 1 for right now. Cool. So, yeah, that's 50 groups. They'll outnumber us over 5 to 1 before mobilizing. We will not really risk that. We'll just go take over their islands again, do that same deal. Oh. Istria, Dalmatia, and of course, Steinmark. They always love to take that, and it always makes it absolutely hideous. But I guess what can you do? Meanwhile, the French-Dutch war is just going to go on for the rest of time, and look at all these fascists that we're getting from the United States. Oh, it looks like the French actually managed to land in the Dutch territories. So that'll clear that up pretty quick. We can go pick up another group. We will... Well, it might be smart to leave them for the moment. But we'll bring them. It shouldn't be too terrible. The worst case is that they get intercepted and the ironclads probably won't help too much. The Chinese do have 28 ships, possibly not good ones. We'll leave those fascist trade unions alone. You know, our whole thing this whole time has been meh, whatever, unions. So we may as well just not switch our beliefs up for the fascists. Alright, and yeah, I should probably scout out where their navy is. Probably not with the transport fleet, though. See if we can't piece that together. And I'm pretty sure they'll just roll all their forces into the coast. Alright, we have no real way of knowing what those ships are, but they are there. We're not going to block them off either, but we will declare war, put down this Boxer Rebellion for the second time. We could call some allies. Russia will accept, Germany will accept. Oh wow, a ton of people will accept. You know what? Why not? I mean, with the Russians in it, what's almost certainly going to happen is China will just pour over and just wreck them. But that will get our good buddies Canada to be a great power. Because it's 8 and 9 will just bludgeon themselves to death. And then Canada will become a great power, and that'll mess up the British Empire a little bit. Let's do it. Alright, who joins? Peru did not. Ecuador did not. Oh wait, no, they did. We're not surprised. Duh. Traitorous Netherlands, rude. Austria-Hungary, still rude. Italy did, though. Germany did, and Russia did. You know, we probably don't even need to get involved. But we're here, so we will. So second transport, drop those dudes off. Fifth transport. Fourth transport will probably just chill. Although we should probably drop the guys off. But they could have chilled if they wanted. Actually, here's the thing. Move them back. And we'll take over that port. We do have more ships. They're just being all slow about it. I suppose because of the monitors. Those are probably very slow ships. It probably says 17 kilometers an hour, 13, 18. Right. So we need to get rid of those monitors. We'll detach them as soon as our troops land. Do we have more fleets? Where are our fleets? Because we had 5 groups. Okay, and that's 4, and that's... Well, actually, yeah, what? Because we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, yeah. Okay, but why are these guys so far behind? Well, they're far behind because they came later, of course. I'm missing something. Alright, there we go. So that's 3 armies, that's 4, that's 5, and that's 6. So I'm not actually missing anything. We have everything accounted for. Oh, Grand Colombia. Did that already happen? Oh, right. I guess Venezuela had a revolution. That's pretty cool. Are they at war, though? No. Oh, ha. But Ecuador is at war with China. Right. Okay, so let's see. The Russians are actually doing pretty well against the Chinese. They are losing a bunch of their, nonsense territories that they don't really love. And that's fine. They probably don't mind. We'll park all of our boats just for the moment. Probably not too dangerous to do. Heal them all up a little bit. Maybe the Chinese will come attack us. I don't really expect them to. We're not even going to bring more forces over, since it doesn't actually matter. We'll just let our boats get back up to full strength while the Russians are doing this giant steamroller sort of tactic. Our people sure do want reforms, so we'll give them to them. We're a good government. Austria-Hungary wants an ally again, so there you go, guys. Who knows, we might have ended up making Russia stronger. Well, China's certainly not going to be stronger at the end of this. Second Boxer Rebellion. Those poor guys. They are not having any luck throwing out all of the foreigners. And I think that's all it is every time they try to nationalize their industry. Or is it even that? I'm not sure. I'll have to actually find out what it is. But it's some really innocuous sort of thing. But every time they do it, it basically just murders them. Especially when a country like us is just ready to jump on them for, our own reasons, I guess I'll say. Give it some sort of defense. Really just for money. But I guess they are the ones interrupting the status quo. Even if the status quo is just give us your money. Which is interesting. Apparently there was a Pentagon report that was just recently published. And it's fun. It's interesting. One of the basic ideas of it is that... And it's cool. It's got kind of military Pentagon-y jargon where, they're obviously taking their own side. And I'm not saying that that's wrong or anything, because, we are living in Western nations, and that's a pretty swell gig, man. But essentially what it was saying was that the Pentagon, or at least this one group who did this study, is kind of the opinion these days that the American kind of hegemony in the world is coming to an end. Now, that's not great if you're one of the people who benefits from that, which is pretty much just anyone in Europe or the United States and Canada and all that. We're doing pretty swell from the whole thing, and it's based largely off of World War II and how we were the only place left capable of projecting force around the world and basically saying, well, this is the way that things will be. For better or worse. But arguably, considering the opposition, it was for better, and, especially because, I live in a place that was part of the winners. So who's really to say? At any rate, their idea is that as the future comes about, a whole bunch of countries in Africa are going to just have to deal with constant rebellions, and oh god, they did attack. That's actually, wow, not going to be a problem at all. Oh, but you know what we will do? First of all, I guess we'll give people full citizenship just for the hell of it. We will sell this navy over here so they can't escape. Now, I do still have to get rid of the monitors from some of these navies. So let's go do that. Oops. Alright, there we go. 100 and something thousand of their troops defeated. 3,000 of ours dead. That's really one of those things where you argue about, oh, what is the price of colonialism? or colonization and all that. And the real thought is, as long as it's super cheap, no one's upset. And, oh, so back to that, that article, or I guess the Pentagon article. I just read basically like a synopsis, and then someone was all, yeah, they have the wrong outlook. We could be doing things differently. And, you know, maybe there's some truth to that. At any rate, though, their big thing was, you know, we have a bunch of special forces groups just going around in Africa, making sure that the countries that exist in Africa today are the countries that exist in Africa tomorrow, and that the governments that exist in Africa today are the ones that exist in Africa tomorrow. The big fear being, you know, there's tons of Western companies doing a lot, and oh, crap, look at that. Now we're socialists. Crazy how it hits you, just out of the blue. Alright, well, I guess in a way that helps the people of Pennsylvania a little bit. We'll open all the factories on the list, we will turn off subsidies for literally everyone, and we're going to immediately hold ourselves a new election. Alright, I don't really want to be a socialist. That's a lot of work. Force China to pay for Boxer crimes, and someone wants some land? Who? The Russians want Primore? Oh, well, I mean, it makes sense that they would. Oh, and you know, as much as I want to just not give it to them, it doesn't really hurt us if we do. Alright, whatever. So, you know, look at that. Status quo antebellum. More or less. From before when the Russians collapsed a little bit, they're back. Still a great power. What was I saying? Alright, so the idea with the whole thing in Africa, like we're supporting a bunch of regimes. Those regimes are basically just made up kind of our friends, not really super democratically. And basically a lot of people are kind of upset because they think, wait a minute, why do we have a government in power that essentially just, you know, exists more or less to benefit only the richest people in our country and also a completely different country's population? Which, you know, admittedly, if you were one of those people, you'd probably have similar thoughts. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. However, we have a bunch of special forces going around, just kind of stopping them from really being able to violently overthrow those countries, and maybe to some degree stopping them from having the kind of electoral reform that would correct that sort of, you know, correct being, you know, a relative term. But basically, the idea is that we just kind of are trying to prevent them from getting governments that don't take our interests into the appropriate level of consideration. There you go. That's a interesting way of saying that. We'll go ahead and not piss off anybody if we can avoid it. Oh, right, and because we're socialists, we have to tax everybody quite a bit. Yeah. Alright, we will still drop the taxes where we can. Oh, and we're definitely not going to subsidize industry. We will just keep clicking the open factories button and really hoping that conservatives get back into office so we don't have to worry about this so much. I'm sorry, but apparently you guys can't handle rights because you just elected socialists, so we're going back to no rights. You can make some sort of pun about that in American politics, but whatever. It's kind of inadvertent. Oh, but yeah, anyway, so that Pentagon paper. I guess the idea is they're all worried that we'll lose control over a lot of places in Africa, and those are really awesome places to invest in right now since they have tremendous growth rates because, you know, they have to modernize. And then, of course, you know, there's the idea that we weren't able to kick out Assad in Syria because, you know, Russia basically came in and was like, nah, we like that guy. And admittedly, we didn't really have that great of a reason to be there. Oh, thank God. So the conservatives are back in office. Crisis averted, man. And we did manage to upgrade a factory or two, so that's pretty cool. The rich are still doing well. I'm not, like, supering in socialists because of, you know, moral reasons in this game, so much as because I really don't want to manage a country this large, you know, their whole economy, and just keep dickering with it. If we were something like, you know, Serbia or Bulgaria or Greece, or maybe the shattered remains of Austria-Hungary, or even that's getting a little big. But if we were a small country, then socialism's great in this game. Because, you know, it gives you the amount of control over your economy that we really cannot even hope to compare to as the Confederacy, as some giant country with a lot of states. When can we go to war against these guys again? Pretty soon, actually. A single year from now. We might actually get to the point where we can start fabricating a casus belli, although we don't really have the infamy for it. Add these dudes to our sphere. Oh, looks like the Netherlands got cut down to size. I'm not actually sure. I don't think that we will see Canada as a great power by the end of this, unless there's a huge great war, but really it seems like that has been held off at least a little bit, what with the whole every great power in Europe essentially rolling over to smash China a little bit. And they're an absolute monarchy, which is kind of fun. I'm a little tempted to play as China in a campaign, although I know that all that's going to end up happening is it'll be about 40 years to westernize before anything happens. So who knows, maybe play as China in the 1861 start. And who knows, maybe even as the Heavenly Kingdom and then overthrow the other half of China. That could be fun. That would essentially be a Confederate game, only the objective would actually be to completely become a new United States, although in China. So that might actually be fun. I might do that just because. Other than that, we should probably build up our armies a little bit. Italy's backing Greece, France is backing the Ottomans. That could actually turn into a pretty good war. Russia's on the side of Italy. People want safety regulations. You got them. At this point, we should probably stop passing reforms because we don't have very many. Well, we'll just get it to the end. It doesn't really matter. It'll get us more immigrants, and that'll help because the Americans are still getting an absurd amount, and so are the Canadians. Alright, so I guess as this episode comes towards its conclusion, it looks as though the French are probably just going to get completely rolled by everybody. Japan might support them, but that would basically be a giant national suicide pact. So I don't really anticipate that happening. We're not going to ally the Netherlands because they haven't really been helpful and they've just been getting us into dumb wars. Oh, yeah. And, so that ended pretty much immediately. Oh, what is this? Italian communists. So, yeah, sucks, Italy. I guess they worked so hard, and now they're a communist dictatorship. We can't ally them, though. They seem to be pretty okay with us, and that's kind of cool. What are all these? Italian fascists? Yeah, that's gonna happen. Can't really see a rise in communists without a fascist sort of reaction. And arguably fascism is just sort of a reaction. It's certainly reactionary. Alright, well that's kind of fun. France is a presidential dictatorship. How did that happen? I guess those countries have not been doing well. Props to Russia then. They're still fighting their people every month. But, at least they managed to hold out. And these are actually Russian reactionaries showing up. So I guess they finally passed a reform and it managed to get their people upset that they actually passed a reform. I guess lucky for them, even if they do win, all that'll happen is they'll stay the same. Huh. That's interesting. We could go fight the UK. Cut them down to size. The Germans would join them as well. We could probably make it into a great war. The United States won't join. Oh, they're allied to France. Who are the French allied to? Only them. Oh, well, see, that's an interesting thing then. If we declare war on them and bring the French into it, then we can get a great war. Oh, okay. I have a plan. Hopefully I'll remember this, but I'll try to. We declare war on the United States when we get the opportunity to. It turns into a great war. We'll probably bring Germany into it. We declare war on the United Kingdom with the casus belli we have. They can't call Germany in because Germany's already our ally in the Great War against the United States. We'll cut the British down to size, try to take New England, probably do that later. Yeah, since it'll be a Great War against the United States, we'll be able to take multiple states per turn, or per, I guess, sort of bit. So what we could do is we'll justify a really basic war goal, one that costs basically no war score, or no infamy, and then we'll just devour up as much of their country as we can, and war goals will be super cheap, so that might actually be the last war that we need to fight against the United States. And it'll be the war that just asserts our dominance over the United Kingdom, as we will join that side war against them at the same time. It'll break their alliance with the Germans, and then who knows, once the war's over, we might be able to call Germany against the UK, although that might be getting a little ridiculous. Let's see, China's probably not going to ally us, since they kind of hate us for attacking them twice. Italy would probably join, and they would just help defeat the French, probably not joining against the UK, but who's really to say? The Ottomans, I guess, will join the UK, but that's really nothing. Oh, and Canada would join. So they would definitely not become a great power. Although then it ties back to us cutting them down into the point where they're not a great power themselves. Then Canada will get their independence. And, yeah, who knows? Well, at any rate, that's amazing. That means that the next episode we come to is going to be us fighting a world war, and then also a war to smash the greatest empire. Well, I guess the second greatest empire, but the greatest imperial empire. Germany is just kind of in its homeland and just manages to be so great. Lucky dogs. Alright, so before we call this, let's go ahead and look. We are predominantly a Yankee country, still pretty Dixie though. Our people, let's see, where do I see that? Is it in politics? Where would it be? Yeah, I actually don't know. It's only in diplomacy. Alright, so we accept Dixie people, and we tolerate Texans. And that's it. In a country that is 30% Yankee, I don't believe we actually give the Yankees the right to vote. Did they ever give us the right to vote? Yes, but only somewhat. Alright, well that's kind of interesting. Oh, look at that. Dixie people are actually a pretty large minority in the United States. Are they moving out of our country? That's a little upsetting. Well, whatever. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will get this series concluded, hopefully fairly soon, hopefully very successfully. Have a great day.